Absolutely. I read the charter. I guided myself with the charter. They knew better. The citizens have the final say when you move an election, and they have the final say through the charter on how long their term of office is.
Thank you. Eileen.
The people need to choose the date of the election, not the politicians. Yes, they should vote. I believe that'll be happening in August of next year.
Thank you, Eileen. Ken?
What they did was absolutely illegal, trying to give themselves an extra year, an extra salary without going to the voters. These sorts of reforms are needed. Even your voting is needed. Real term limits are needed, but we have to ask our residents by ballot.
Would you put it on the ballot, Xavier?
Yes, absolutely. I was the first person to support the Stronger Miami initiative, and I also gave him a little contribution. There are concerns about one of our opponents said that we would be on page 18 during presidential years and that people will not pay as much attention. But people want reform right now, so let's give them reform.
Thank you.
That was me.
That was you.
I don't think we're doing rebuttals for rapid fire, but we can address it later if you wish.
He was sympathetic.
Starting with Eileen,
Yeah.
should Miami voters support the question on the November ballot to enact lifetime term limits for city officials?
Yes, I serve on a county commission that has term limits. It works very well. It's how you infuse a government with new ideas and a sense of urgency to accomplish something in 8 years. I have already marked up my ballot to vote yes.
Ken, lifetime term limits.
The only way we get out of the revolving door of family dynasties that have controlled Miami for decades is real lifetime term limits.
Xavier.
What's on the ballot is lifetime retroactive term limits. I was elected in 1985, and then to find out, you know, in 40 years later that I won't be able to run a second term doesn't make much sense. We already have term limitations in the city of Miami. If we want to make it lifetime prospectively, let's do it.
Thank you. Emilio.
If the voters want that, fine. I kind of defer. I think that we do have term limits. You serve 2 terms, you wait out. Listen, a perfect example is Commissioner Gort. He was a wonderful commissioner, was gone for a while, and then he came back. That should be it. If voters want to have lifetime, fine, but I'm very happy with what we have now.
That'll do it for our televised version of the Miami mayoral debate. Thank you so much. We are going to continue on our streaming platforms for more questions of the 4 candidates. Thank you so much. And on behalf of us, good night.
And we continue.
So thank you for sticking around with us here on our streaming platforms. We are going to continue now with some more targeted questions to each of you. And the rules apply, the same rules apply. You'll have 90 seconds to answer each question. I will begin with Eileen Higgins. You have talked a lot about the small businesses in the city and helping them succeed. You talked about permitting as well this evening. What other specific plans do you propose to help those businesses thrive?
Well, I launched a program called Elevate District 5, and when I am elected mayor, I'll expand it to the entire city. Through that program, I've invested over $3 million into small businesses in my district. There's 8,000 of them. 1,000 of them have participated, many in training programs. I told you about the importance of making sure our community is ready for artificial intelligence. I've had over 100 of these entrepreneurs trained in how to use AI for operations or for marketing. Other programs have taught them how to make and generate their own financial statements. And then we have an in-depth cohort called Scale Up that works in large groups of 20, both in English and Spanish, to show them how they can scale their businesses. But importantly, the kinds of small businesses we have here don't often have access to capital. And so I have set up 2 revolving loan funds that are unique to our community. The first is the New Heights Microloan. That gets you your first access to capital. Might only be $5,000 at an interest rate of, let's say, very low, 3%. Then you grow up to the Rise Miami-Dade Fund, which is now capitalized at nearly $30 million. Again, only for Miami-Dade County businesses, the kinds of businesses that would never have access to an SBA loan, nor to a big bank. These are the kinds of programs that must be continued, and I will continue when I'm elected mayor.
Thank you, Eileen.
Emilio, A few years ago, Little Havana businessmen brought a suit claiming that Commissioner Joe Carollo and mayoral candidate had used city resources to target their businesses. Your testimony in that suit, your corroborating testimony about his actions, helped them win a $63 million judgment. I wonder, as the city manager at the time, do you think there is anything that you could have done differently to have prevented or stopped what was happening?
Great question. I was witness number one at that trial for that lawsuit. As a matter of fact, as manager, I did do things, which is one of the reasons that we had such acrimony, because I was being told by my staff, we are targeting a business. This is wrong. This in writing. We can't do this. We were sending fire inspectors to one restaurant 20 times in one calendar year. We were demanding that this restaurant produce evidence that they sold more food than liquor, as opposed to more liquor than food. It was targeted, it was uncalled for, and what happened in court is what needed to happen in court. We need to stop that. As manager, I worked with my staff. I made sure, a lot of times the information came to me after the fact. I got a call. I was told to go here. Why did you go there? Why didn't you call me? Because this is how we operate now, right? This is almost like the Wild West. I don't like you, therefore I'm going to put you out of business. And you know what? I'm bringing the city with me. That's got to stop. And we're still seeing the vestiges of that. There's still lawsuits. This individual has $100 million worth of settlements, legal fees, judgments. I mean, when does it stop? You know what we could do with $100 million in this city? You know how many elders we could help? You know how many young families we could give daycare vouchers to? $100 million is not insignificant.
Thank you.
Xavier, you've already discussed some of this evening about development in the city of Miami. Of course, the skyline is much different from when you were mayor to 2025. So how do you plan to deal with new development while balancing the infrastructure and the needs of the current residents of the city of Miami?
When I mentioned Edgewater, which is part of the sponsor of tonight's debate, I forgot to mention the last part, which is they're in a critical situation that might call for a moratorium, okay? And that's something that we have to think about. On an emergency basis, I think it would pass muster in a constitutional challenge. When Coconut Grove wanted to secede from the city, 1985, et cetera, what we did is we gave them good government. We stopped all the rezonings, okay? We stopped all the overdevelopment. We stopped even thinking of building next to the bay, you know, whether it was Parcel B later or Watson Island, another project by one of the my opponents here that's not here today. He wanted to turn that into something that I don't even want to get into it. Develop it, Watson Island, which is a precious resource. And so, you know, that's basically my answer. We have to stop overdevelopment, and if we have to do it with a moratorium, if we have to do it, downzoning is a little tricky constitutionally, but maybe in some situations we're going to have to stop or change our zoning code. But particularly important is don't allow anyone to build above the zoning envelope. The zoning envelope restricts what can be built, can't go beyond that at all.
Thank you, Xavier.
Ken, excuse me. As a city commissioner, you twice ran for Congress and as a result left office about a year early. How can voters feel assured that this is not a stepping stone job for you? And if elected, will you serve a full 4-year term?
The only reason I came back is to serve as mayor of this city for the transformational change that's needed. And whether I even serve only 1 term or 2, my goal is to be a transitional mayor that helps welcome in people who would otherwise never have thought they could run for office, just like I did the first time. We all want to help in whatever way we can. Eileen's leaving 3 years early to come and run for this seat. We want to help, we want to serve, but it's not meant to be a career. So in a sense, I'm glad I didn't win when I ran for Congress, because now that gives me the chance to be here now.
Eileen, you were mentioned, I don't know if you want to weigh in at all.
Yes, I did not make the decision to leave my county commission role lightly. And so it was very important to me to qualify by petition. So 3,000 residents of the city of Miami from my district and beyond have asked for me to be on the ballot. That means I have their support in this run. I intend to serve as their mayor very honorably and very respectfully.
Thank you.
Emilio, when we spoke and I interviewed you, you talked about the importance for you about transparency, bringing back transparency to city government. And you said that one of your ideas was one of the first things that you would do was to bring the state's Doge into the city. So what financial concerns do you have in the city of Miami?
Oh, what financial concerns don't we have in the city of Miami? We have a $3 billion budget, and we've all discussed here, we don't know where it's being spent. We have a $400 million bond issue that may or may not have been started yet. We have ARPA funds that perhaps they were given out as Publix gift cards to supporters. This is, listen, and it doesn't have to be the state. It can be anybody. But I think it's incumbent upon us when we walk into office to tell our taxpayers, to tell our residents, here's how you spent, here's your money. I'm going to show you how we've spent it. And when you go through it and you look at the stuff that probably shouldn't be there, the friends and family program, the contracts going to places that they should not be, then you can start peeling that onion back. And that's where you find the savings to be able to help the people on this side of the skyscrapers, because right now they don't trust us. And all that audit would do is just tell us, how are you spending your money? If these are your priorities, these are your expenses. I don't think that's unreasonable. Please show me where's the money. Show me the money, and then from there we'll move forward and we'll start prioritizing on all these wonderful projects that we've all talked about. But we can't do any of this stuff unless we know how we're going to pay for it. And that's why I told you that, because we need to know and we need to tell our residents, this is what we have. Okay, now this is what we have. Let's move forward.
Thank you, Emilio.
This question is for Eileen. President Trump has taken harsh measures against big cities with liberal leaders. As a vocal Democrat, are you concerned that Trump would seek to make an example of Miami if you're elected mayor? And what is your plan to deal with pressure from Washington if that does in fact happen?
I don't believe he would take any action against the city of Miami. When you look at this place, we are a blended family. We live with all kinds of people. We have all kinds of political parties here. What I can tell you is this city is a safe place to live. We have one of the lowest crime rates in the country. That's fantastic. We have a capable fire rescue folks keeping people safe. We have a government that satisfies Washington's demands for how we live together. What we have going on here internally is an administration and a government that doesn't work for the people that live here. You just talked about perhaps the governor would send people in here to look beneath the hood. You're not going to need the governor to come when I'm the mayor. I'm going to be looking under the hood because there is waste in the city. We have to look for ways to save money. I have a list. I think my list is up to like 200 items that need to be done. I am an engineer, so I keep a lot of spreadsheets. But we have got to look at how we make this government work for the people. There's not a single person in this room that'll say, wow, the city of Miami is doing a good job for me. They're all going to have a complaint. I tried to get a permit to replace my windows. Well, that took 2 years. I tried to repave my driveway. Well, that took 1.5 years. I tried to build affordable housing, and that took 2.5 years. This city needs fixing. That's my plan, to get in there and make it efficient. And we're going to save money by doing it.
Thank you.
Ken, when we spoke, you called corruption in the city a big problem. You also told me that the city should not be paying for legal settlements. That means any type of settlement by any official would not be paid, including any potential settlement for any type of actions in office?
No. If you're acting in your capacity as a commissioner or mayor and someone sues the city, of course you have the coverage. But what happened in Joe Carollo's case went all the way to the United States Supreme Court, where it sent back down and affirmed that he was not acting as a commissioner. It was a personal vendetta against businesses in our community. And so our insurance companies have dropped us, yet the other commissioners continue to protect him and pay his legal bills. It needs to stop. The taxpayer shouldn't be covering unethical behavior under any circumstance.
Thank you, Ken.
Question for Xavier. There has been some criticism here tonight of your son, the current mayor, and you even said that you might do some things differently. I wonder, is there any really important issue to Miami taxpayers and voters that you think your son should have done better on? And if so, what would you do differently?
We had an example in the last few months. The lawsuit that Emilio filed, he used the law firm that I recommended. I even got involved a little bit in the strategy at the beginning because they had individual defendants, and I recommended that they were not indispensable parties and that should be removed, which made the whole thing go a lot quicker. So, you know, that's an illustration. Commissioner Higgins mentioned something about being a pothole-type mayor. I'm very different from my son in that sense. I don't like to travel a lot to the Middle East or otherwise, okay? I mean, I don't mind traveling to the Middle East, but that's not my style. My style is, you know, I'm a hometown boy that loves to be in Miami, loves to be. Whenever there was a problem in the streets of Miami, who was the first person to arrive there? Sometimes before the police, whether it was Little Haiti or Overtown or anywhere else, it was me, and that's my style. Maurice Ferre, who was very good at marketing Miami, a lot of times was absent when things got hot. I am that kind of person. It's a different style, the same substance, by the way, and the same analytical capabilities. He just has a lot of more charisma, and he takes after his mom.
Thank you.
We have a little extra time, so we have one other question before closing statements. David's going to ask it.
We'll stick with Xavier for this question. As a former mayor, you know very well, excuse me, that the city's executive mayor doesn't have a ton of official duties, which means lobbying the city's commission is a very important job, a very important task to get your agenda across. How will you work with the city's famously mercurial city commission?
Well, it's going to change as of November 4th because we're not going to have the most troublesome commissioner on the dais. The other four that are going to be there and the new one, I get along with all of them. I have ties to all of them. But here's a key thing, okay? Everything that I've done in 40 years, I've done in a very weak mayor position first as mayor with no veto power, no ability to appoint a manager, no ability to appoint the chairman of the commission. You can't imagine how much they all want to be appointed. Imagine what I can do with all those powers. And veto power is very important because I mentioned before the rezonings that were taking place before I was elected. And Rosario Kennedy and I came in. Occasionally we would have Miller Dawkins on our side, occasionally Carollo, occasionally Victor de Jure. But now you have veto. So unless four of them, you know, can try to mess around with things, whatever it may be. It could be bidding, it could be zoning, it could be outright corruption. By the way, a lot of the corruption that hurts us is administrative corruption, okay? And it's bureaucrats making up and hiring consultants and going against what the people want. In the case of these crazy enormous seawalls that they've built in parks right next to the bay, which should have living shorelines. So imagine me with all those powers and being able to run the city.
Thank you, Xavier. Emilio, how will you get your agenda across, work with the city commission?
Well, I think I disagree with my friend Xavier. I don't consider the mayor's position a weak mayor. The mayor has three functions. The mayor selects the manager, the mayor has veto power, and the mayor can serve as a chairman of the commission, and I plan on exercising all of those. The commission will understand, and I'm sure they understand now, particularly after the drama with this lawsuit, that people are really upset. And we talked about a low turnout rate. I don't know, it was Ken that said we had a low turnout rate. People are motivated. People are energized. People are going to show up and vote this year. And I will work with the commission and let them know that my presence there is not because I'm a good-looking guy. My presence there is because folks are tired. Folks are really tired, and they want change, and they want change now, and they want it to be bold change. I have no intention. I looked on online. You know, Miami has had 44 mayors. I have no intentions of just being the 45th, the next guy. I'm going to be the mayor. I'm going to be that guy. because it's got to get done, and you got to make hard decisions. And when you get into a position like this, where you have the expectations of an entire community that are going to say, hey, we elected you, we put you there, now do something. And you have to do something. And I'm going to bring along those commissioners with me, and I'm going to help them understand that we're all going to do this together, that the campaign is over, and now it's time to govern.
Thank you, Emilio.
A quick rebuttal, please.
Sure.
I actually agree with him. He misunderstood what I said. The current system is a much stronger mayor than what I had. I was a weak mayor in 1985, but I agree totally
Thank
with
you, sir.
Eileen, how do you work with the commission, and would you, like your opponent, consider sitting as the chairman of the commission and engaging in commission meetings?
So, I am not worried that this position is weak at all, because I have zero intention of being a weak mayor. Let me just talk a little bit about how I get things done on the county commission. I'm one of 13. The only way I change anything or implement anything or get to invest in anything is when 7 people agree with my idea. So what that means is you've got to, 1, have policies that make sense. You have to communicate them clearly. Sometimes that means you write an op-ed for the Herald if you think it's a complicated item. Sometimes you go on television, you make sure you share the story. So you always make sure you have your 7 votes. City of Miami, you only need 3 votes. What I have proven on the county commissioner is I can communicate complicated yet necessary policy changes, whether it's for our environment or to fund our transportation system, and get that done. That's how I'm going to work with the city commission. Also, let's be very clear. I am going to be in City Hall every day in every meeting, right? The charter may say I can't tell people what to do, but I can watch what they are doing. And I have a ton of work experience, whether it's installing computer systems or building new facilities. So I will be able to make the suggestions for them to transform city government. This is not a weak system of government. You have got to show up and do the job.
Thank you, Eileen. Ken, you've sat on the city commission. How do you work with commissioners?
Thank you. And Commissioner Higgins didn't answer the question directly, but she said it in interviews before she would not sit as the chair of the commission. And Mayor Suarez just said that he would appoint a chairman to the commission. Here's where Emilio and I agree. Wherever we otherwise disagree, this to me is a disqualifying factor for someone running for mayor if they do not choose to sit as the chairman of this commission. This is the problem we've had. The adult has not been in the room. And there's been a food fight every day. It's embarrassing for our city. A mayor's role is to lead, not to be out, not to be sitting on the side, but to be there, actually holding the gavel, running the agenda, having decorum, showing ethics, example with leadership. And if you're not present, like our mayor currently, how can you do that? So yes, the charter says the mayor shall be the presiding officer of the commission, and I will do that.
Well, that was a valiant effort to give everybody a rebuttal since you named everybody. Eileen, do you want to? No? Okay.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so it's that time for the closing statements. You each get 2 minutes for that statement. Since we began with Emilio and ended with Xavier the first time around with the first question, we're going to start with you, Xavier, with your closing statements. You have 2 minutes.
As mayor of Miami, with limited powers, I kickstarted Bayside, the Performing Arts Center. That's an interesting story when the Knight Ridder gave me the donation for the land. 2 police substations, kickstarted Southeast Overtown Park West, the largest affordable housing project in the history of Miami. Now 4,000 units being built or rehabbed. 2 sports franchises, the Miami Arena and Major League Baseball. NBA basketball with the Miami Arena and Major League Baseball. You should have been there when I made the presentation in New York on Major League Baseball. I brought Ron Fraser from the Miami Hurricanes, and his task was to prove that it never rains in Miami. So I guided through a $300 million Liberty Square redevelopment. another one of these negotiated bids, and we ended up choosing a company that is building it, and it was my recommendation, even though the chairwoman wanted someone different. The last $45 million of the Science Museum went through my committee. Nobody could explain how we were going to find $45 million by capitalizing future revenues and turning a donation, a pledge from Phil Frost into an actual short-term loan, but I did that. As county commissioner, I also did 4 after-school programs with my own funding, 4 vocational programs in the inner city schools. These are fine folks. They don't have a track record anywhere near that, and they don't have any specific platforms. Okay, we're going to increase the homestead exemption. We're going to make public transit affordable, free, ideally, as it is in Miami. We're going to make sure that the Metro Mover doesn't charge you, as one of my opponents wants to do. And we're going to reform insurance. Didn't get to talk about that today, but you'll see it in my correspondence and maybe ads on TV, if I can afford them.
Thank you, Xavier.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Ken.
Thank you again for this forum. Without any doubt, nobody who has watched tonight will not be able to make their decision. And more than anything, they know there's an election happening this year, and they know the choices before them. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the elephant not in the room is Joe Carollo. With over $1 million in the bank and being underestimated at every turn, Joe Carollo could absolutely be the next mayor of Miami. Don't underestimate him. But beyond that, Miami has a choice between yesterday, tomorrow, corruption or reform, affordable housing or nothing, and they have to make that choice. If these are your reformers here on the stage, you need to recognize the differences between them as well. While I applaud Emilio for bringing the lawsuit, I disagree with him, and I believe the colonel will militarize our police against the homeless and the immigrants, as he said in interviews. He'd roll out the red carpet for the state and federal government instead of standing up against it where needed for our immigrant residents. I was born here. I'm raising a young family here. My mother was an immigrant from Japan in the 60s. My dad worked in Cuba as an American all through the 50s in a toy factory until he lost everything when the regime came and took it and kicked him out. I know Miami's story. We are Miami, and we're ready for this change. So I really hope that Miami will consider me. Ken Russell for mayor.com. I'm ready to fight for us. I'm ready for the transformational change that is absolutely needed without bowing to special interests, without giving in to a bully commission, but leading in the transformation that we need for Miami. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken. Eileen.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. I think I've shared with you tonight the importance of working for the people. And let me tell you just a tiny bit about my background. I got my start in engineering, in manufacturing, and then worked for nearly 2 decades in the private sector, running some very large divisions of companies you'll know the names of. But when I was in my mid-40s, I had to do an exercise at a corporate retreat, as one is like to do, and that exercise was writing my own obituary. And the next morning, when we had to process that, we were asked 2 questions. One is what's in there that you're proud of and how you'll be remembered, and the other is what's missing. And within a year, I had quit my big corporate job. I was the director of the Peace Corps in Belize, and I went on to serve this nation as a diplomat in the Foreign Service. When I settled in Miami, I wanted to keep making a difference, and that's what led to me in 2018 serving on the County Commission. I am just a hard worker. I get up every day and I go to County Hall. And as a result of those efforts, I've built affordable housing, I've expanded transit, I've enhanced resiliency issues, I've worked on small business support. That's all I'm going to do when I get to the city of Miami. There's going to be no drama, there's going to be no corruption, there's going to be no yelling. It's just me every day going to work on your behalf to try to get things done, the things you have told me you want to have happen in the city that you love, the city that I love, the city that should be the best place on earth.
Thank you, Eileen. Emilio.
Do I get to respond since you mentioned my name?
Absolutely, you have 2 minutes.
No. With respect, Ken,
You can go over your 2.
Yeah, you need to fire who prepared your notes. At no point have I ever militarized the police against the homeless. Quite the contrary. I encourage our police department to be sympathetic with the homeless and to make sure that they're not literally dying on sidewalks, that we provide a service, that we provide somewhere for them to stay. You mentioned trust earlier. Our municipal government has failed our residents. That's why we're here, all of us. We've let them down. We've let them down and they don't trust us. We've created a predator city where the government is the prey and the government is a predator and the citizens are the prey. Listen, we are probably violating an ordinance being here today because that's the way we operate. Our Constitution has 27 amendments. Our Articles of Confederation had 13 articles. I had an attorney look up. There are 1,610 city ordinances right now. We have just violated something, just being here. So my point is, we need reform, and we need reform bad. Traditionally, we campaign on bringing out the worst fears, scaring people. If you elect so-and-so, he's a communist, he's this, he's that. We don't ever look bold, we don't ever aim high, and that's what I want to do. I want to instill trust. We have an obligation with our residents. We can't mistreat our residents. Our residents go to a commission meeting and they're shouted down. They're told they can't talk. How dare they? Our residents are the ones that put us there in the first place. Public service and being mayor has to be vocational. It isn't about making money. It isn't about making my ego bigger. It isn't about setting me up for another office or clickbait or this or that. It's vocational. You got to want to do it. I've been there. I've done that. I've worked at the highest levels of government. And I know that I can be the very best mayor this city has seen in a very long time. I'm not perfect, but by God, we're going to get things done under Emilio Gonzalez. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you. And now the audience can clap. A big round of applause to our candidates. Election day is November 4th. Early voting begins October 25th. Good luck to our candidates. And on behalf of David Smiley and myself, thank you and good night.